Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this presentation. And I just want to say hello from Kent State University in Kent, Ohio, in the United States. And I'm just going to take the next 30 or 40 minutes to really kind of go through a presentation and talk about the American Academy and the creation of the American Academy as a joint program between Kent State and PUCPR. And then also a little bit about Kent State in general, where many of those that would go through the American Academy would then come and complete their final 2 years. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, if you want to chat or ask a question in English, please. Unfortunately, I don't know Portuguese, so I apologize. I will be able to answer those questions at the end if you put them in the comments of the video as well. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up our presentation, and we will get started then. All right, so the American Academy, which is really about a US style of higher education. And again, this is just me to give you a quick introduction. Again, my name is Ed Butch. I am the Senior Director of Academic Recruitment and Retention for the College of Arts and Sciences at Kent State. So what that really means is that I work with students in terms of getting enrolled at the university. And then when issues arise or if they have questions while they're here at the university, I do what I can to then help them in terms of making sure that they're getting all of the resources necessary. And it's been my pleasure over the past, I think it's now been 2 years, to really work with the great staff at PUCPR on the American Academy and get this set up to start late next month in July as well. So that's just a little bit of my background and why I'm here speaking with you today. So a little bit about the American Academy. As I mentioned, it is a joint program between Kent State University and PUCPR. And what that really means is that students, as they join the program, they will actually be duly enrolled at both of our universities. The program itself is really set up to be as I mentioned earlier, in a US style of education. And so with that, we want to make sure that the faculty that are teaching the courses are also a part of that. So we will actually have Kent State University professors, full professors, associate professors, working on their PhD in these areas that will actually be coming down and teaching each one of the courses. So though that this program is housed there in Curitiba, our faculty will be the ones coming down and teaching it. We also call this a 2+2 program. So what that really means is that the students, when you enroll, you will actually take the first 2 years of your coursework there at PUCPR in Brazil. So you are not having to come to the United States actually for the first 2 years of your United States style education. You're actually able to do that while you're at home, living at home. And of course, what that all in all means is saving yourself a little bit of money in the process as well. Then after you complete the 4 semesters and 2 years of the American Academy, you then have the choice to come here to Kent State and finish one of our curricular programs. We've set it up so that with this program, there are 18 different programs of study that you can actually complete in an additional 2 years, so 4 years total, when you get here to Kent State. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't have the option of our hundreds of majors available to you. We just can't say that those will be completed in 2 years. But we do have, as I mentioned, 18 that you can be. So the first 2 years, courses that you're taking within the American Academy are what we refer to in the United States as a liberal arts curriculum. So this is the general style of education that most universities here in the United States actually utilize in higher education. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So here at Kent State, we call our general education liberal arts curriculum the Kent Core. So if I refer to Kent Core, that's all that that means throughout the presentation. And really, what is the point of this is a lot of times what many people ask in terms of, you know, if you're studying, let's say in the sciences and you are studying biology, why are you taking this liberal arts curriculum that consists of writing and of history and math and music and other types of courses that don't necessarily directly relate to your major? That's actually a question that we get from many of our domestic students as well. But in reality, what it comes down to is that it's really supporting your education as a whole and helping you become a better global citizen in this global society that we have now within the world. And really going back to some of the surveys and things that we do with employers here in the United States, many of them actually say that these are the types of students that they want to employ are those that have completed a liberal arts background. Because they want them to be able to think critically. They want them to be able to communicate clearly. That's why within the American Academy, there's a communications course. They want to be able, that their new employees to be able to solve complex problems. And while, going back to our biology example, that you are going to get some of those things just within your biology coursework, by looking at it through a different lens and through the world in a different lens of history, of politics, of writing based on recent literature that you're reading, you're really able to really get into that critical thinking aspect from many different angles. And that's what employers really want to see. So that's why we use this. To give you some numbers, 9 out of 10 employers in a survey that was recently done say that they want to hire employees that demonstrate ethical judgment, integrity, intercultural skills, and a capacity for new learning. And that's what we really hope students get out of a liberal arts curriculum as well, is just that desire and that love of learning. So we want them to focus on their major or program of study that they are looking at, be it biology, chemistry, or whatever it may be. But we want them to have this background and really that desire and that love of learning. And more than three-fourths of the employers really have that focus on critical thinking and complex problems solving, as well as the written and oral communication as well. And so in a lot of these styles of classes that are built into a liberal arts curriculum, there are group projects that students work on together in that class. So they're learning how to work in a team, they're learning how to communicate with each other, and they're really learning how to communicate with the professor in that aspect. So that can really then show you how it focuses on when you would be employed then in terms of communicating with your supervisor instead of the faculty member, in this case, in a class. And really, one of the things that I think that I find most intriguing about it is it just fuels curiosity and for students. You know, a student may come in thinking that they want to study one specific area and have thought that for many years. But then they take some of these courses in the Kent Core and they really find that they have a strong passion and love for history or for politics or something else than what they thought they were going to study. So it really allows students in the United States to make sure that they're exploring and feed that curiosity that they have. Now, that doesn't mean that every student, you know, changes their mind in terms of what they want to major or what they would like to study. But it allows students to really explore in case they are not necessarily set on what it is that they want to do. So when it comes to the American Academy, that will be starting next month in July. The first course will be starting on July 23rd, and that'll be the orientation course to the semester, which for those of you that might be starting at that time, you'll actually get to meet me in person. I'll be there to teach that course. And but this is really kind of the setup of the courses, or the way that the Academy is set up. So it is set up in 4 different rotating semesters. So we have this large curriculum of coursework that students are going to study based on our Kent core here at Kent State University. And a student can enter that cycle of those 4 semesters at any point. So we'll bring in our first cohort in July, and then we'll start the second cohort in February. So then both of those cohorts together would be starting in that second semester curriculum. So there's no need to only start at a certain point. A student is able to enter the Academy at any point within the curriculum. The main thing is that they will just then stay there for 4 continuous semesters to complete the Academy, no matter when it is that they would enter. And we are doing something a little bit different that is not necessarily a US style of education, but it is something that we have found in some of our other programs, specifically in our College of Business Administration, as they have done some other programs in other areas. They found that students really can be immersed in one course at a time and really take that on really well. And so that's the concept that we've gone with for the American Academy, that the students will be taking one specific course at a time. So you'll be immersed in a college writing course for 3 weeks, every single day of the week, and for that 3 full weeks. And so you'll have built-in study tables, we're calling them, throughout each day that breaks up the actual class session, where students will be able to actually work together, study together. If there's a writing assignment, you'll be able to work on that writing assignment during that time. And then, of course, after the day is over, when you go home for the evening, you'll be able to finish up those assignments. But we are also making sure that we build in some time for that as well. So that's really kind of the setup of the Academy itself. Just to give you a few examples of some of the courses that you'll see within the American Academy in this upcoming first semester, the cohort that's starting here next month in July, they're going to see our college writing 1 and 2 courses. And so this is really about writing at the college level here in the United States. And so you take recent works of literature, articles that the professor assigns, and writes basically in response to those that you're seeing. They'll give you writing prompts that you would see and take over that. International business is another course that you'll see throughout the semester. So this is really focusing, again, from an American perspective, because we are, our faculty are the ones that are teaching the courses. So it is going to look at this from the US perspective, but how is international business really interlinked across the world, the checks and balances that happen with that, tariffs and trade. And so it really focuses in on what that looks like, again, in this global community, going back to that liberal arts aspect. Music is a world phenomenon, so how music really around the world affects us in our everyday life, listening to different genres of music, not only here from the United States, but of course around the world as well. And then looking at the culture of music as well, and how it plays a role in community in so many different places as well. So really kind of a neat aspect in a way to look at music. United States history will be another course that is taught, looking more so at the modern period from the United States Civil War that happened, and then leading up to present day. Comparative politics will be one of the first, or will be the first course in this upcoming semester after the orientation course. And really, again, kind of similarly to international business, but more from the political perspective, looking at how different governments interact with each other and what that looks like, kind of the inner workings of government. Also looking at both governmental and non-governmental organizations across the world as well. And then another example, again, these are just a few of the courses, general psychology, so just an introductory look at psychology, how our brain works, and then of course they kind of do a small segment on a lot of the different fields of psychology within this introductory course as well, whether that be social psychology, abnormal psychology, or adolescent psychology. They just go a little bit into each of those as well. So that in general is a little bit about the American Academy itself. And then so the first 2 years of the program that students will be doing through this. So next I want to talk a little bit about Kent State in general. So again, after the 2 years of the American Academy, students will then have the ability to come to Kent State and finish some of those programs as well. So just a few facts about Kent State. We call them flash facts because our mascot is the Golden Flashes. And so that's why we use that in the title. And so we were a university that was founded in 1910 and mostly as a teacher training school. So we are very much focused, and I would say still focused, on education as a main aspect of our university. Just below that, you can see a few different rankings that we have gained as a top national university and a top public school of national universities. In 2017, we were ranked 188th and 101st respectively in those. And then we were ranked 56th actually among US colleges by the Washington Monthly as well. We are what I would at least consider a mid-sized university here in the United States in terms of our population and also the degree programs that we offer. So we do offer over 300 programs of study, both at the bachelor's level, master's level, and then also the doctorate and PhD level as well. So our location, so we are located in the city of Kent, Ohio, which is a small town with tree-lined streets. We're considered a tree city here in the United States or within Ohio. So it's very nice in terms of the fact that we have a lot of green space within our city as well. And that's something that our city actually prides itself in also. The state of Ohio itself, we consider it's really in the Midwest part of the United States. And consider it to be really the heart of America, as I like to call us, a little bit, because we are kind of centrally located in the United States, just around the Great Lakes region. The cost of living here in our area is also a great aspect, especially for students coming from other countries, that we are in fact quite cheaper, 88% cheaper than a city like New York City. And getting that small town experience. And as I'll go into a little bit later, we also have some proximity to some major cities as well within Ohio, so that you still have that city aspect while living in a small town here in the US. It is safe and friendly, one of the safest college campuses in the nation, which I'll get to quickly here in another slide. Again, we are a tree city. We also are in very close proximity to one of our national parks here in the United States in northeastern Ohio as well. So it's great to have that in terms of outdoor and nature space as well. And then, as I mentioned, in terms of entertainment and food and a lot of other things to do, sports, Cleveland is just a very close drive and also buses that can go up that way as well, for students to get up there and actually get some of that city experience if that's what they're looking for on an evening or a weekend while they're here on campus also. So we do have quite a few industries that are here in Ohio. Again, having some cities, having some very rural areas. Here in Ohio, we do have a lot of different things. Some of those that are international even as well, that you may have heard of, that you'll see on this slide. Deloitte's an accounting firm that handles some international accounts. The Cleveland Clinic is, of course, here in Northeast Ohio, the main campus located in Cleveland, Ohio here. But of course, they have campuses all across the world as well in terms of that medical industry. So a lot of our students that are looking to go into a medical field have the ability to do internships, shadowing experiences, and things like that with doctors and nurses and other people there at the clinic as well. Then a few others within the area, kind of more of the manufacturing side of things. The Hoover Company is located in Canton, Ohio, just a little bit south of where Kent is. Smucker's jelly and peanut butter and other things located close here as well. And then we have a lot in terms of arts, many art museums within the area, Cleveland and Akron. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame actually is located here in Cleveland. So our National Hall of Fame for music and rock and roll is located here in Northeast Ohio as well. So in terms of our size, as I mentioned, at least I consider Kent to be a mid-size school here in the United States. We have around 43,000 students. That is both undergraduates at the bachelor's level and graduate students as well. And this also includes our regional campuses. So we have our main campus here in Kent, but then we have 7 regional campuses throughout other parts of Ohio as well. So those numbers are all inclusive of each of those campuses. We do have over 2,900 international students from over 100 countries enrolled, and this was as of the fall 2016. So as of August of 2016, here we had around that number of students. And then we have, for a lot of our students, both domestically and international, of course, they're looking to live on campus because they're coming from a distance oftentimes. And so we do have 25 different residence halls on campus for students to live, as well as 22 different on-campus dining halls and eateries for those students to actually eat at as well. And we're considered one of some of the best dining in terms of universities within the country as well, which we pride ourselves in also. So campus security and safety is, of course, always a concern for students and for families. And we were recently actually just named the 11th safest campus in the United States. And so that is a fantastic thing for us and something that we really take pride in, that we are considered that safe of a community for our students and staff and faculty that are here. We actually have our own police units here on campus that are patrolling 24 hours a day. As well as they work very closely with our city police unit as well to really patrol the city and the university both. We do have campus security on campus as well, which is hired security. Oftentimes upper class students take on some of those roles and are trained as campus security. And they're available actually also for escort. So if you're walking across campus late at night by yourself and maybe you just don't feel comfortable doing so, they're available to come out and meet you and actually walk you back to your car or to your residence hall to make sure that you feel safe. We have something also called flash alerts that I always encourage every student to sign up for, that gets sent out in case of any sort of an emergency. So luckily we don't have much in terms of weather-related emergencies here in Northeast Ohio. I would say some strong thunderstorms and the possibility of a tornado every once in a while, but it doesn't normally happen, thankfully, around here. But those sorts of warnings are what would be sent through text messaging with these flash alerts. So that's, again, something that I really encourage everyone to sign up for when they get here to the university. And as I mentioned already, the security aides that are here on campus for our students, and they're also patrolling the residence halls every night also. So we encourage, of course, just like all universities, our students to really make the university your home away from home. Downtown Kent has been fully revitalized over the past few years here, and has opened some great small local shops, some great restaurants down there, and again, some great just kind of outdoor spaces for our students and other members of the Kent City community as well. We do have a free campus bus service here as well, because many of our students don't have cars on campus. So this allows students to be able to get around both campus, but it also goes downtown. It goes to some neighboring cities like Stowe and Akron here as well. And then they do once daily trips to Cleveland as well. So all a student has to do is show their Kent State University ID, and they're able to utilize that campus bus service as well. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have 25 different residence halls on campus for students to live in. Many more of our students are living off campus in different apartments here in the community. But it makes it easier and for many of our students to be able to live right here on campus. So we have about 6,500 of our students that are actually living on campus. And we have very unique living spaces and options for our students in terms of traditional residence hall room, where you have two students sharing a room and then a common bathroom area on that floor, to your more traditional apartment style housing that you would see in any city around the world, in terms of having separate bedrooms and everything like that within an apartment style housing, just conveniently located here on campus. So, of course, for any of our international students that are coming here, they're already studying abroad here on our Kent State campus. But then we also want to make sure that they realize, that our students realize that they also have the opportunity to take advantage of our other study abroad opportunities. We do actually have different centers in Florence, Italy, and Geneva, Switzerland, for our students to take advantage of, both within the summer, as well as throughout each of the semesters. We're also a member of ISEP, the International Student Exchange Programs. It's a consortium of schools across the world that allows our students to take advantage of studying at those institutions, and then for their students to come to Kent State as well. So something that I always like to make sure that all students know about, as well. As you can see here in the picture, a view in Florence, Italy of the Duomo that is actually just not down the street and not far from our Florence Center campus as well. So a couple of the different colleges within the university would be that you would be a part of and working with. The first of which would be the College of Arts and Sciences. So colleges within a university setting in general are just another way of saying different academic departments or areas within the university. So the College of Arts and Sciences, which is the college that I actually work for, is really the home of the liberal arts curriculum. So that Kent core that we talked about earlier. We house about 95% of the courses that are a part of that Kent core curriculum. So we really have that wide focus. We have that global focus of many, many different areas across the university. So we look at a lot of the science areas, so natural and basic sciences, so biology and chemistry and physics, mathematics and computer science are all part of our college. What we call the social sciences, which would be programs of study like psychology or sociology or political science. And then what we call the humanities, again, which are very focused within liberal arts. So these would be areas of study like history, English, philosophy, or Pan-African studies. So it is one of the colleges that all students at the university really interact with because of our basis within the liberal arts. Another college that you'll be interacting with, specifically within the American Academy, will be our College of Business Administration. So it is one of the best programs in terms of business, and which by the Princeton Review, and is actually a fully accredited business school as well. So that I mentioned earlier are programs of study that you can complete in just the additional 2 years when you come to Kent State would be their general business degree, which again is also an accredited degree through the college. So it really focuses a little bit in all of the areas of business, whether that's accounting, marketing, finance, economics. It gives you a great overview of all of those areas of business. Then the final college that you would be working with and having an experience with during the American Academy is our College of Communication and Information. And as you probably remember me saying at the beginning, you know, communication skills, both written and oral, are extremely important to our employers. Probably one of the top, really the top things that they're looking for from students is having that ability to read well, to write well, and to communicate well orally. And so our communication studies program of study or major is really something that that you can also complete here in those additional 2 years, and also focus in on different areas. So you can focus actually on organizational communication, or you can focus on global communication as well, and really take that back to Brazil if that's your plan afterwards, and utilize that when you're home then as well. So last, before we get to some of the questions that you have, I just want to talk a little bit about, so why should you choose this? If you're thinking about starting the American Academy, whether it be here with our first cohort in July, or later on in the start of the new academic year in February, why should you do so? So really, I want to remind you, you are dually enrolled at 2 prestigious universities. So Kent State and PUCPR, fantastic universities, and 2 universities that have had a working relationship for many years as well. So it's something that we're extremely proud of, putting this program together for students and then allowing them to be able to have this US style of education, starting it in Brazil and then coming to the US, and really, of course, helping save the students and their families a little bit of money in that process as well. As I mentioned, it really allows you to obtain that US education while only having to study internationally for those 2 years. And then the 18 programs of study that can be completed in 2 years following the American Academy. As I mentioned, our university has over 300 programs of study that you can choose. But we're guaranteeing that as long as you pass the classes through the American Academy, and then once you're here, these 18 programs of study can be completed in the 2 years following the academy as well. So it's something that I personally, as you can probably tell, have a passion for, as I've helped create this over the past couple of years. And I'm really looking forward to being in Curitiba here within about a month to teach that first orientation course to our first cohort of students as well. So I really recommend that you, if you have not yet done so, definitely look at the websites. And it'll go through all of the courses. I gave you the sampling of courses earlier in terms of what some of them are. It's going to give you the full list of coursework that you would be completing during the American Academy. Also, there's the email address that you can use and contact Vivian, and she would be more than happy to help answer any questions that you may have about the American Academy as well. So with that, I am going to go ahead and end our presentation here. And then I would love to go ahead and take any questions that students or families or anyone watching may have as well. So like I said, if you want to comment in the comment section of the video, I apologize. I have another computer up over here to my side, so I'm going to have to look to the side to answer any of the questions. So don't mind as I kind of glance over to see if we have any questions there as well. So it looks like we do have one question as of right now. And asks if I want to know if the 2 years at Kent State are fixed or if it depends on the major selected. So really, it's I guess it is really about the major or program of study. We use that interchangeably that is selected. If you were to choose one of the programs of study that are one of those 18 that we have identified, then that 2 years, as I said, as long as you pass all courses that are a part of that, then it's going to be that 2 years. If you decide when you get here to Kent State that you would really rather pursue a major in computer science or with our fashion school or one of those other areas, then it's probably going to take maybe an additional year, even possibly two, depending on what that major actually consists of and the sequencing of courses for that major. And we have great help here in terms of our advisors that work here on campus in all the different areas, and they can help you plan out your route in terms of what would that look like based on the courses that you've already taken through the American Academy. What is going to be your fastest route to get that major that might be outside of those 18 areas that we have already identified at this point? But great question, thank you. So it looks like we have another question about having to study in Brazil for the first 2 years, or if you can move to the US before that. So that's a great question, and one I thought we might get as well. So to be a part of the American Academy, it is a specific program that is designed to really be a 2-year program in Brazil, with students then coming to Kent State, to the United States, after those 2 years. If you're looking to just study internationally from the get-go, then of course you can apply to Kent State as an international student, as a first-time student. But in terms of the American Academy, it really is a 2-year program specifically made for studying there in Brazil, and then coming to the United States after that then as well. All right, so I'll glance here and see. So it looks like Pedro has another question in terms of the cost of living on campus. So in terms of an average of living on campus, it's really going to depend on that style of living that you are choosing. So some of what we consider the more traditional style of college housing, so those one-room type areas that you're sharing with another student, those are going to be a little bit on the lower end, and that's usually going to run around $4,000 US dollars per semester while you are here. If you were to go more of the apartment style settings, that's going to then start increasing your price a little bit depending on which area that you choose, and probably run more toward the range of, I would say, $5,500 US, somewhere in there on average. So like I said, it just really kind of depends mostly on what style of housing you choose. And then, of course, you know, when a student is coming here after the American Academy, they'll be at a student level in terms of how many credit hours you've completed, that you would also have that option if you wanted to be able to live off campus, so you can price out some of those options as well. A lot of our first-time students here on campus do prefer to live on campus just because they're new to the area, it's a new experience, and so they would prefer to stay on campus for that first time and then maybe possibly look to move off campus at a later point then as well. And that, yes, that is the price per semester as well that I mentioned for those living arrangements as well. So you'd have to double that for the full academic year. All right, let's see if we have another question. We do. So is there any way, looks like Daniel asked, is there any way of getting into the American Academy without having the TOEFL exam? And so part of Kent State's requirements for admission for international students is the TOEFL exam. So it is something that we would need for students to take and to complete in order to apply to the university then as well. So yes, that is going to be a needed requirement for that. We really want to look at the proficiency of students because this is a slightly intensive course offering of the courses that are taught in 3-week segments instead of spread out over your normal semester that you would have. And of course, the faculty are coming down and teaching these courses. So we want to make sure that students have that proficiency and are going to succeed, because we want each of you to succeed in this academy as well and not have to struggle with that. So that's why that is one of the requirements also. Looks like Vivian has something she would like me. We have a lot of students asking about sports at Kent State, both for professional competition and recreation. So talking a little bit about that. So of course, I think that's definitely, you know, as in many cultures here in the United States, obviously sports is a huge part of our culture as well. So we have different what we call varsity sports teams here at the university, in terms of students are representing the university on the level of they are being regulated by our national organization. So in terms of American football and baseball and softball and soccer, or football, I guess, as I should say, they are all there. And so a student can actually try out for one of those teams as a walk-on for that. But we also do have recreational sports in many different areas as well that all students can be involved in. And we call those our intramural sports that are run by our on-campus recreation center, which we have a great recreation center for our students here as well. It has a rock climbing wall in it, has an indoor track, multiple basketball courts, a large weightlifting area, lots of machines for our students to utilize. But those intramural or recreational sports are actually run out of that center as well. And then we do actually also have club sports here, which are kind of a mix between the two of those, whereas intramurals are only Kent State students just competing for fun against each other, and whereas the varsity sports are competing against other universities here in the United States on behalf of the school. We do have some club sports that students can join as well, where you are competing against other universities, but it is not at the level of regulation of a national organization like the NCAA. And so you are able to compete, and it is more kind of for that fun and really for school pride, and not necessarily at that more varsity level then as well. In terms of entertainment as well, in terms of sports, we have multiple sports teams here in Ohio at the professional level that students have access to, going to different venues and watching those as well. We have actually in the state of Ohio 2 different professional American football teams. We have 2 different professional baseball teams. We have a basketball team here as well in Cleveland. And then also we have a national professional soccer team in Columbus, the state capital of Ohio, down there as well, that a lot of people will make a drive to see down there. There's also, as I'm getting some notes from Leslie, who's here with me as well, I should have her come over and say hello here in a minute. So Leslie's actually going to be working directly with the American Academy as well. And she reminded me also to talk about, we do have an ice skating rink on campus that students can go to and utilize also for fun. And there is also nearby ski resorts very, very close to Kent here in the national park area, actually, that students can go to and enjoy and go skiing or snowboarding or tubing in the winter here as well. So lots of recreational entertainment value and things that all students can get involved with as well in terms of sports. All right, let's see what else we have in terms of questions. Nothing else as of right now. I guess we'll wait a minute. Leslie, did you want to? I'm gonna just.
About the sports, we also have the kayaking and paddleboarding.
Kayaking and paddleboarding.
And all the things that the Kent's Recreation Center runs out of their Crooked River Adventures.
Right.
With the rivers in our national parks nearby. You can do a lot of outdoor activities.
Definitely, definitely. Hopefully everyone could hear that okay. But Leslie was just saying that we do have canoeing and kayaking and different water sports that is run out of our recreation center as well, that they call it Crooked River Adventures, the name of the local river here, or I should say the nickname of the local river here. And so those are other options that our students will have here as well. So as you can see, outdoor sports, getting into nature is something I would say that is a major part of the Kent area and Northeast Ohio in general. It's something that we definitely really, I think, make a part of our local culture, would be getting outside and taking advantage of a lot of these different things that we have within the area as well. All right, so it looks like we have a couple of other things. Martina is asking me to talk about the bus transportation on and off campus, and then if you would need a car to get around as well. So in terms of how the bus transportation works, it is running, it's not 24-hour service that the buses are running around here, but there is a main stop at our student center on campus where students can catch all of the different buses. And then there's different points around campus, around town in Kent, and then in those neighboring cities where students can get on and off. And there's a schedule online and something that students can download in terms of when the buses are making those different stops at those different areas. And like I said, it is all free for our students. They just need to show their Kent State ID when they're getting on the bus, and it is completely free for them to be able to ride the bus. In terms of a car, I wouldn't say that it is necessary and a must for our students, but I know a lot of students do enjoy having that flexibility and freedom to be able to get out some of these different areas that I mentioned and not having to rely on the buses necessarily. So it is definitely can make life easier, but I would in no way say that it is something that is a must and something necessary to purchase or to rent when you get here. And downtown is actually very, very close for our students as well. So like as I talked about earlier, Kent itself, the city, is not a huge city. So the campus and the downtown area are really kind of connected almost. They're two separate entities, but it's a very close and very easy walk for students to be able to just get downtown and visit some of those restaurants and shops and different things that are down there. So for that, in that case, you know, oftentimes transportation isn't even necessary. You know, and a lot of people will ask, you know, how large is the campus? Well, I like to kind of talk about that in terms of how long it takes for me to get from one side of the campus and to the other walking. And I would say really you can get from one side of our campus to the other in about 20 minutes, probably walking. I don't know. I guess I have an average pace. I don't really know. But I think that, you know, so we have an easily accessible campus, but we do have those transportation accommodations that are there as well.
Furniture, if I live on campus.
And then also, Martina talked about, furniture. Yes, that's a great question. So if you live on campus, in our on-campus housing here with the university, all furniture is provided in the room. So every student would be provided with a bed, a desk, depending on what type of housing you live in, either you have a closet or some sort of dresser or bureau that would be in the room there as well. The responsibility of the student is just to bring any linens, towels, and things like that for their room. So the basis, the furniture itself is there, but you would want to provide everything that goes along with that then as well. And starting this fall, thank you, yes, that's a great thing to point out, is that our on-campus housing actually will have free laundry in every residence hall. And so it's something that's already built into the price of housing on campus. So students have access to the washers and dryers at any time while they're living here on campus. In terms of living off campus for a student, if they are looking to potentially live in an off-campus apartment, then that is something that you would definitely want to look at and talk to the potential landlord about. Some of the apartments off campus do have furniture that they provide the students. Others do not. So that is definitely something, if you're looking to do that and live off campus, something that you definitely want to check on to make sure that that is available to you if that's what you wanted to do. But on campus, you're set. All furniture is definitely provided. All right, let's see what else we have. It looks like Pedro has another question. After the period spent at Kent State, is it required to go back to Brazil, or is it possible to stay in the US and look for a job? So again, another great question. In terms of employment afterward, that is really going to be on a case-by-case basis based on the jobs that you're looking for. So for an international student, it's going to be, and I'm not an expert in this area, I will warn you, but it is going to require your potential employer to sponsor you in order to work in the United States and grant that work visa from the government. And I think Leslie definitely has more of an area of expertise in this as well, so I will let her join us here real quick.
Hi everyone, this is Leslie. I will be working with the PUCPR students as well, so it's nice to meet you all. I work in the Office of Global Education with international students now. So to answer that question about jobs after you graduate, there is something called optional practical training, which students who studied with Kent State for at least one academic year are eligible for after graduation. So if you take years 3 and 4 here in the United States, you will be able to get the optional practical training, which is typically 1 full year after graduation of a work authorization. If you study in a STEM field, that's the science, technology, engineering, math fields. If it's one of the qualifying STEM fields that the US government recognizes, you could get an additional 2 years after that first year. So a total of 3 years of optional practical training in the STEM field. And after that, either the 1 year or the 3 years of optional practical training, or OPT, then you would be able to apply for a more long-term job that an employer would need to sponsor you for under our H-1B visa. And that would just be up to you and whether you happen to find an employer who wants to sponsor you with a position that's available. But at least for graduates of the US degree program in the US, yes, you would have a work authorization option. You have to apply for it, but you know, we help you with the application. So that's definitely an option, but you have to have studied in the United States for a minimum of 1 academic year to qualify for that.
And scholarships.
Scholarships available for the American Academy. I don't know that we've discussed those specifically. We have scholarships available for international students in general. And I can send the link afterwards for our scholarships information on the webpage. There's not a specific separate one for the American Academy, but we have some great scholarships for international students in general. And sometimes if you go on to study in specific majors, each college has some of their own scholarship money as well. So that kind of question may vary depending on what you study and at what point you start with us, but we can answer that more individually, and I can send the link afterwards to the scholarship information on our website that has additional links you can drill down into to find more detail about each one, with qualifications and requirements for application dates and things like that. So I'll turn it back over to Ed.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it. Definitely not always an expert when it comes into a lot of these things, especially with visas and everything. So I appreciate that Leslie was here to be able to help answer some of those questions and to make notes and to remind me of other things that I need to talk about. Let's see if we have anything else up here in terms of questions. It doesn't look like right now we have anything up there. Vivian is asking about how about the books for the American Academy courses? Do students need to purchase or is it included in the tuition? So thank you, Vivian. Great option. So books are a separate cost of the American Academy. So the coursework and everything else is included in that, but books will be purchased separate. So what we're going to be doing is our faculty are providing, actually Leslie, and she is working with Vivian to actually get the books there so that they're going to be available for the students to purchase for that upcoming semester. And that is probably something as the American Academy grows with more students, especially starting in February, we'll kind of get a good handle on that and make it very easy for students to be able to purchase those books. There are some courses, like for example, the orientation course, where you're not going to have a book. If I have, for me, when I teach the course, if there's anything to read, it'll be just a provided journal article or something like that that we would work on, but there would be no required text for the orientation class that I teach as well. Most classes are going to have, I would say, probably one textbook that you would get. There might be some that have multiple, but I would say for the most part, most are only going to have one that you're going to have to actually purchase then as well. Going on with that, because when I had mentioned journal articles for my class, it actually made me think of something in terms of, so when you are accepted into the American Academy and you become a student enrolled at both universities, you're going to get access to our online system here at Kent State, which we call Flashline. And within Flashline, there is a system that is utilized by all of our faculty members called Blackboard. And within that, each class that you take is going to have its own Blackboard site. And that's going to allow the faculty members for your courses to upload the syllabus in advance, so you can actually see the syllabus for the course and what you're going to be learning and talking about in each of those class sessions. If they have anything like journal articles or something like that that they may want you to read, a lot of times that's a space where they can upload those articles and easily get them to all the students as well. So you will have access to all of our Kent State systems just like any other Kent State student when you're a part of the American Academy. And it's going to be important to utilize those as well, as that's how the faculty, just like when they're teaching here on the Kent State campus, and when they're going to be a part of the American Academy, they're going to utilize those systems in their classroom. And don't worry, that's actually something that we're going to go over in the orientation class is how to utilize and how to navigate some of those different systems. So it's not something you just have to figure out on your own. We're going to actually walk through it so that way you have an idea of what those systems actually look like and how to utilize them as well. Let's see. Doesn't look like anything else up there. And I know that we're getting to our hour here also that we had scheduled for this. Unless any other questions pop up here, I just want to say once again, thank you very much to everyone who viewed this today and will possibly view it in the future as well. I really hope that you consider becoming a part of the American Academy. I think it's going to be a fantastic experience, especially if you're a student that thinks, that has thought, I really would love to study at a university in the United States and get that style of education. This is a great option for that. As I mentioned earlier, you're working with two great universities, and then have that option of saving up a little bit of your money in those first 2 years while you're doing the American Academy, and then coming to Kent State in those final 2 years to finish out your education and obtain that bachelor's degree as well. I definitely feel free to reach out, go to the websites. The American Academy email address is on there. Vivian's contact information is on there. I'm sure Leslie's will be soon as well. And everyone can help answer any questions that you might have about the upcoming Academy. So once again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day. Thanks. Take care.